Everybody, it is Friday. Welcome back here, and we're going to be talking about a major heat wave bringing record high and low temperatures to the United States over the next few days. Significant severe weather is also in the forecast in the form of damaging winds, large to very large hail, and tornadoes, along with flooding rainfall as we go through this upcoming weekend and into next week as well. So if you are here and you like straightforward, accurate, reliable weather coverage across southern Canada, the United States, and the tropics, this is the channel for you, so make sure to subscribe to the channel. We do daily videos here on the channel, so like the video, give it a thumbs up, and also share it with a friend, family member, and on social media. I definitely appreciate it. Let's get into the severe weather forecast for today, your Friday, July 25th, which, by the way, folks, we are only a few months away from Christmas at this point, 5 months away, so it is getting closer, so cooler air is on the way. But looking at severe weather here for today, we are seeing a slight risk up into North Dakota, where scattered severe thunderstorms will be possible there in yellow. In the dark green surrounding that into parts of northwest Minnesota, South Dakota into eastern Montana, down through the Nebraska Panhandle and into northeast Colorado. That is an isolated threat for severe thunderstorms in dark green. Same deal from portions of Oklahoma, Kansas, and Missouri, stretching across parts of Illinois into Indiana, Ohio, all the way to Pennsylvania. That is where isolated severe thunderstorms are ticketed for this afternoon and this evening. And then along the I-95 corridor, scattered severe thunderstorms possible from Boston down to Providence and Hartford, New York City, Trenton, and toward the Philadelphia area as we go into the afternoon and the evening. Now, the main threats will be, of course, damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour and some quarter-size hail, but there is a tornado threat. It is non-zero today up into North Dakota, northwestern Minnesota, but also down into eastern Kansas, into northwestern Missouri. In the green, that is a 2% chance of tornadoes within a 25-mile radius of any given point in or around that area. Heading into the start of the weekend tomorrow on Saturday, July 26th, isolated severe thunderstorms in dark green from Montana eastward into the Dakotas, back into northwest Minnesota there, western Nebraska, including the Nebraska Panhandle and northeast Colorado, and then from Illinois in the Illinois Valley eastward across southern lower Michigan, Indiana, and into northwestern Ohio, where isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible. In the dark green, we are also seeing less than a 2% chance of tornadoes tomorrow, so the tornado threat today is just a smidge higher than tomorrow, so that is what we're keeping a close eye on. Let's start here in the eastern U.S. We'll go to the central U.S. view, and then we'll go to the western U.S. view and give you a diagnosis of what the radar could look like over the next 48 hours here. So at noon on Friday, we were watching a couple of isolated thunderstorms popping up from Maine into New Hampshire, Vermont, and into parts of central and upstate New York. Also watching a few remnant sprinkles or showers across the Ohio Valley here at noon, and that will continue into the mid-afternoon hours. However, there will be a broken line of strong to severe thunderstorms roaming the landscape across the I-95 corridor, Boston, Hartford, Providence, New York City, and Philadelphia, down to Trenton, New Jersey. That's the area of most concern for 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, quarter-size hail, and a very low tornado risk, in addition to locally heavy downpours. So be watching out for that here during the mid-afternoon hours. Those storms will quickly move off the coast of Cape Cod as we go into early this evening. Additional isolated, widely scattered storms will form across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, so Indianapolis, Dayton, Cincinnati, over there to Pittsburgh, and even Maryland over here into Washington, D.C. The Annapolis area. We'll be keeping a very close eye on a couple of those storms. Could be pretty strong as we go into the evening hours, but as we lose the daytime heating, the storms coverage and intensity will also decrease as well. Starting off at 7 a.m. on Saturday, we are watching a couple thunderstorms that will be forming up there into, say, northern Indiana, up there to Toledo region, and even into Detroit and along Lake Erie shoreline there, including Erie, Pennsylvania. Be keeping an eye on that to start the weekend, but as we go into the middle of the day on Saturday, the tendency will be for scattered thunderstorm development across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. So again, it's kind of a hit or miss variety, and a lot of us will stay dry, and some of us will get some showers and some thunderstorms, and a few of those could be strong going into the day on Saturday. Looking at rainfall amounts, it is most prominent further to the north, so we're talking around the southern Great Lakes region, the northern Ohio Valley, and parts of the northeast here in Mid-Atlantic, where areas toward the southeast, like the Carolinas, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Virginia, will remain a lot more dry. It doesn't mean you're going to be bone dry. There could be some thunderstorms in there, but they'll be more isolated further to the south. Where you see the more repeated rounds of storms through Saturday and Saturday evening, there could be an inch or two of rain further to the north, again hugging up along the Great Lakes region and into the northeast. Let's look at the central U.S. view here at noon. Got a couple showers into central and eastern Kansas and northwestern Missouri. As we go into the mid-afternoon hours, we're going to have a tendency for those storms to intensify as they move towards portions of Kansas City and Topeka, getting into the St. Louis region, maybe a couple storm cells popping up there as well. Same thing up there towards Chicago. We'll be keeping an eye on these storms. A few of those could produce gustier winds, some smaller hail, and also a localized downpour risk as well. And then as we go into the evening hours, we're going to be watching a cluster of training showers and storms developing from Kansas City to Chicago, all the way to Grand Rapids, Michigan, and this could lead to a heightened flooding risk here, especially if you have heavy downpours moving over the same areas. So don't be surprised if flash flood advisories or warnings are put out later tonight for that going into Saturday morning. So wet start to the day there in the Chicagoland and Milwaukee up there on Saturday, and then as we go into the afternoon, maybe additional storms forming further south as areas south of I-80 and toward the I-74 corridor, Peoria, Springfield, into the Charleston area where Eastern Illinois University resides. And then over there into Indianapolis, could be seeing some stronger storms Saturday late afternoon and evening. Also watching a couple stronger storms in the high plains, could be producing primarily gusty winds and hail for Saturday evening as well. When it's all said and done, between now and Sunday at 7 a.m. on July 27th, could be seeing a good swath of 1 to 3 inches of rain from areas near Topeka and Kansas City, stretching up there toward the Davenport Quad Cities, Peoria, Rockford, Chicago, South Bend and Gary, Indiana, Fort Wayne, and also into the Grand Rapids, Michigan area. Some flash flood warnings could be hoisted if a lot of these storms train over the same areas. We'll be keeping a close eye on that. The western U.S. here at noon, very quiet, but as you know, the monsoonal flow will activate this afternoon. Looks to be more isolated in nature, though, from Colorado down into eastern New Mexico. We also have storms across northeastern California into southeast Oregon, Nevada, stretching up into Idaho and southwestern Montana. These are not likely to be strong, but they could produce some locally heavy downpours, and then those will decrease in intensity and coverage as we lose the daytime heating from the sun, and then we'll do that all over again as we go into Saturday, but maybe just a little bit further to the north into Montana. And out here, again, it's hit or miss. We're going to see a lot of us remaining dry, but there could be some rainfall amounts of 1/4 to 1/2 an inch from northeastern California stretching up into central Montana. So that will be something to watch as we go into the weekend. Now let's look here at Sunday, July 27th. Isolated severe thunderstorms will be possible in dark green across the northeastern Dakotas into much of the state of Minnesota and Wisconsin, northern Iowa, northwest Illinois, and up there toward Lake Superior, which does include western portions of the upper peninsula of Michigan. Again, damaging winds, large hail, the main threats, but a couple tornadoes will be possible. Notice it's a later event, so this is going to be into Sunday evening. It's going to be a line of storms that develops here right over Lake Superior and the Arrowhead of Minnesota, and it will trudge southward as we go into the early morning hours on Monday, eventually arriving in northern and central Wisconsin and the western UP of Michigan by the time we get into the 6, 7, and 8 a.m. time frame on Monday morning. Now let's talk about this major heat wave. So we got a big ridge of high pressure here anchored across the southeastern United States here on this Friday, July 25th. It is flattened out today, but it will amplify and build further north as we go into the latter stages of this upcoming weekend, and that will introduce, again, more heat, more humidity to parts of the north again. A little bit of a respite from the high heat and humidity in the upper Midwest today. Well, with that said, it's still in the mid-80s and there's still some humidity out there. It's not as extreme as areas, for example, down in Texas where we're in the triple digits today. Now watch the heat build back on Saturday, tomorrow on July 26th. Back into the mid and upper 90s we go. Rapid City, North Platte over there in toward the Lincoln area. And then as we go into Sunday, those 90s spread further east into the Midwest. And when combined with the corn sweat and the moisture the corn crop gives off, those dew points will be rising into the 70s, low 80s, and and our heat index values by Sunday could be back to 100 to 110 degrees Fahrenheit for areas near Chicago, Indianapolis, and Milwaukee. So make sure to stay hydrated as we go through the weekend. Now, the pattern as we go into next week, Monday, July 28th through Friday, August 1st, that ridge is going to flex its muscles and retrograde slowly further to the west, encompassing a lot of the Four Corners region as well. And there's going to be some heat out there again as we go into next week, really across the southeast, the Gulf Coast, and then stretching back into the southern plains, including the Red River Valley there of Texas and Oklahoma. But notice the blue further north, the northern plains like the Dakotas and the upper Midwest like Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin. We're going to have a boundary sitting up here, and this is going to lead to some cooler air. And also where the boundary resides is where thunderstorm activity will be prominent. So let's look here at Monday, July 28th. The triple-digit heat, we got record highs widespread from Florida into Georgia, the Carolinas there, especially the low country of South Carolina. Into the triple digits we go on Monday. Some triple digits out here as well into the central high plains. And then as we go into Tuesday, again, more record highs along the Gulf Coast, but you can clearly see that boundary up here into the upper Midwest. Cool 70s with lower humidity to the north and hot 90s with high humidity to the south. And then as we go into Wednesday, that boundary is going to sag further to the south. And by Thursday, yeah, look at that. The Midwest, the Great Lakes, much of the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast will struggle to reach 80 degrees by the end of July. So that'll be a nice welcome relief from the heat. Now, before we get there, we're going to be watching for more storm activity going through next week. We got to watch the jet stream here over top of that ridge. It's going to be bringing disturbances down from Canada and the northern U.S. into the eastern U.S. during the early to middle part of next week. And there's going to be plenty of storm energy with this. You can see the charcoal color coming up on the map very clearly, frequently as well throughout the week, and that is going to lead to high storm energy levels, which could lead to some severe weather with damaging winds, large hail and tornadoes, and some very heavy rainfall. There's going to be a lot of moisture in the atmosphere, which will cause the rainfall to be quite heavy. The most likely storm track will be from the north and central plains over here into the Midwest, a little bit more of hit and miss across the Ohio Valley, and then a little bit drier toward the northeast and a little wetter toward the southeast once this pattern does break down. Now let's talk here about the long range outlook heading into the first half of August. The Climate Prediction Center's experimental week 3 and 4 temperature outlook does show above average temperatures favored across the eastern United States, especially from the southern Great Lakes, Ohio Valley down into the southeast, and looking at equal chances of above or below normal temperatures across the northern United States. We look at the long-range precipitation outlook there for the first half of August. A little bit drier underneath that ridge axis. That does include the Tennessee Valley especially, but parts are surrounding that. The Ohio Valley, the southeast, the mid-Mississippi Valley, and midwestern regions going to tend to be a little bit drier as we go through the first half of August. Monsoonal flow will be a big deal for Arizona, Flagstaff, Tucson, down there toward Phoenix, and into western portions of New Mexico. And then we still got that northwest flow at times from Montana, the Dakotas, into Minnesota. That could stretch a little bit further into Wisconsin and the UP of Michigan as well, but you get the idea. Above normal precip to the west and further up to the north during the first half there of August. And that's not bad news. Looking at the latest drought monitor that was dropped yesterday, and you can see it's very widespread, very significant drought across the west, from the Rockies west to the west coast. East of the Rockies, we still have pockets of some moderate severe drought. I understand that, but we actually don't need a lot of rain in the Tennessee Valley right now because we are not in drought. So the areas that need the rainfall desperately, that are in significant drought, severe, extreme, exceptional drought out west, we are actually getting some of that moisture. So that is welcome with open arms in Arizona and up there into Montana, parts of North Dakota as well. And that's exactly what we'll see as we round out the month of July. Now let's go over here the tropical update here as well to update you on this. It is hurricane season, yes, and right now we are keeping an eye on the Northwest Gulf. The National Hurricane Center in Miami, Florida is showing a 10% chance, hanging on by a thread, to a system that could develop over the next 24 to 48 hours. And really, all along, I forecasted a rain system. I wasn't expecting a big system to come out of this, and I still don't expect that as well, as this is already going to be on land near Houston and Lake Charles, Louisiana, by the time we get to literally tomorrow afternoon. And this is going to be producing some heavy rain, and this could cause some flooding, no doubt about that. We could be seeing around 1 to 2 inches of rain from Houston, Lake Charles, New Orleans, over there in towards the Gulfport, Mississippi region, Mobile, Alabama, still heading between now and Monday morning on July 28th. So again, turn around, don't drown, never drive on a flooded roadway, never a good idea. But just in general, across the Atlantic basin, the Saharan dust coming off of Africa is dry air, and that is still suppressing the hurricane season so far, at least the first half of it, in the Atlantic, in the main development region, over here in the Caribbean, and that looks to continue really even as we go into early August. I don't see a break in the Saharan dust even into the first few days of August, which will continue to suppress the hurricane season out there into the Atlantic. So for what it's worth, the tropical depression probabilities here going up through August 3rd, yes, while they are high in probability with a stronger tropical wave that could survive off the African coast into the main development region, probably won't survive very long further west to the Lesser Antilles because of that dry air choking off the main core of this system from developing. So I think even as we go into early August, while there could be some attempts at tropical cyclones in the Atlantic, I don't really think they're going to be getting going very strong at all. Let's look over here in contrast to the East Pacific Ocean. There are a couple of systems we are keeping an eye on into areas just southeast of Hawaii. A medium chance, a 50-50 shot there, 50% chance of a development, an orange. And then behind that, we got a lemon. That's a 30% chance there just to the south of Mexico. And right now, the main concern is just kind of a wave train of tropical weather moving across the East Pacific. A couple of systems trying to develop here. And the main concern right now, obviously, is Hawaii, especially the Big Island of Hawaii, as this system may kind of graze portions of the Big Island as we go into the early but especially middle part of next week around Tuesday, July 29th and Wednesday, July 30th. This could bring some heavier rain to the Big Island, but other than that, I think the main core of the system, the low pressure center, is going to be well south of the Hawaiian Islands, but something to watch as we go into the middle of next week. There could be some heavier rain there again for the Big Island of Hawaii. Now, if you did enjoy the forecast, make sure to subscribe to the channel for straightforward, accurate, reliable weather information. We do it daily here on the channel for Southern Canada, the United States, the tropics. Definitely appreciate you being here. If you did enjoy the forecast, make sure to give it a like, thumbs up, share with a friend, family member, and on social media. If you have any comments, questions, and concerns, make sure to jot that down in the comments section down below the video. We are here 24/7, all day, all night, to answer any and all comments, questions, concerns that you may have about the weather. Thank you all for your support, and have a wonderful and safe rest of your Friday out there.